This is the limestone lowdown. Hear the sound when you lie to the issues all around. From every corner, let's make it clear. The change we need is starting here.
Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Limestone Lowdown.
Hey guys, it's Amanda. Today I have got a special guest and a dear friend of mine. Her name is Suzanna. Her and I met, I guess about 6 months ago or so. Yeah. We have become good friends. Her and I talk through text or Marco Polo pretty much daily. And I wanted to have her on because she's got a really good story and she's become very passionate about our Strain Road folks. And y'all have heard us talk about them and kind of the stuff that they've been going through. So I'll kind of let Suzanna introduce herself and what she does and how the Strain Road folks became her little...
A little bit of my passion.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. So, I am... Feels funny just sitting here looking right here jawing that, but so I have been in home health actually for about 20 years so, and that has put me in a position to really be invested in the community wherever God has placed me, wherever my job has placed me, and I'm just really passionate about connecting with people, and in that connection, let me get back to as far as how we got connected. God strategically placed our family in Athens about 5 years ago and just put a passion in my husband and I both to be invested in our city. And in that, I began to really start looking at groups that I could be a part of. And we connected through, I guess, did we first meet? We didn't meet at a meeting or anything. Where did we first actually meet each other face to face? I don't remember.
Was it at Starbucks that one day, or was it could have been at City Council for all I know. I can't remember.
I don't remember either. But
I felt like we talked for like 2 or 3 weeks before we actually got to meet in person.
And I think ultimately how we met was just like-minded. Somehow we got connected through somebody else that knew that we had the same heart for our community and for our nation too, and just had a heart to want to help people. And I think that's the key that connected you and I, was our hearts to want to help. And when we see a need, we just want to get in there and get our hands dirty and do the best we can to fix it, do our part to fix it, which I feel like is the golden rule. I mean, it's also biblical, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and to reach out and help and do what you can. And so that's kind of how we met. I feel like I know what it was. I had a mutual friend who knows you, Julie, I think. But anyway, so that connection put us together, and then over time began to give me just seeing your passion for our community and seeing your passion for, being at the city council meetings and being a part of the community and getting involved, really put a passion in me and a drive in me to go and begin to go to the city council meetings and really more to just know what's going on in our community. And I don't think I realized my role just as a citizen of Athens.
And I think that you can probably speak on that because Jared and I only started going to city council meetings in August of 2024. We had never been to one before. I think a lot of people are like, they're at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. People are working. People have kids. It's on a Monday afternoon. It's a Monday. People hate Mondays. It's perfect day of the week for them to slide those in. And all they see are these new businesses, like the Buggies that are coming in, the TJ Maxx that came in, these restaurants that are coming in, because we got the Texas Roadhouse and all the exciting things.
Well, it's everybody loves hot dogs until you know how they're made.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. Yeah. You bring in all this business, it's like, woo, it's great. But then when you start looking at the real cost of it, it's like, is it really worth it?
Right, because everybody's complaining about property tax. That's something that we've said in the 5 years we've been here. Ours has nearly doubled. And so when you start thinking about that, it's at what expense? And then so when we started going to city council meetings and we hear these tens of hundreds of thousands, even over millions of dollars that are going to incentives or tax abatements, and it's certain businesses. I mean, even now we can't really find what that actually costs the city on Buc-ee's coming here. Like, we're glad it's here,
yeah,
but it's like at the end of the day, are we paying them to be here? And we shouldn't be paying them to be here. I mean,
especially when we have, and that brings in the biggest thing would like to talk about, because especially when you look at, you have situations of neighborhoods and other places that are living in less than they should be living in.
Right. So I know we've got two things that we want to talk about. Let's talk about North Athens real quick, and then we'll go into Strain Road. So Susanna, her and I, like I said, we connected, and then in the Concerned Citizens Facebook group, there was one day where Jared and I were out. We had met this one Haitian family, and we were talking about that they didn't have anything. They had two small kids that were living in the house with them, that, they didn't have food stamps, they weren't getting housing allowance, they weren't getting any kind of assistance, and they had nothing, essentially.
Right.
And I don't even know if we've talked about this on one of our shows yet, but the loops the hoops that we had to jump through to try to get them assistance was hard. And then, but having their immediate need, knowing that they didn't have access to, proper heat. And I know, like, even we were at the beach over fall break, they texted me because it had gotten cold, and they didn't even have heat, like a heater that worked in that house. And that is something by the state of Alabama, you have to provide heat. But anyways, I reached out to our Facebook group about needing help for them, because we went and found them furniture pretty cheap, but it was like they needed food. There was like 8 people that lived in that house, and our community really, really turned out. And we had a doctor's office that took in clothing donations, and we were looking for food for that weekend, and that was something that you had stepped in and helped that family, and you got to meet them and how thankful they were, and we got to hold the little baby. So if you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of how North Athens looks compared to the rest of Athens, and how they're forgotten about, essentially.
Well, I think that's really what it is. It's, and we know we have our different classes of, people live in
that's everywhere.
That's everywhere. But when you have such a dramatic shift from literally one street to the next, and it's that dramatic, and then, like you said, not even having the things that they're supposed to have. I mean, this is not even a matter of you're not bringing enough money to have the extras. This is, you're not even have the baseline of what you should have.
And that you could literally, like, see from inside the house outside. There was... Yeah.
And then, I mean, somebody is responsible for that. Ultimately. And that's an injustice to the person.
And then...
No matter why they're here, it's still an injustice to the person.
Because, I mean, he's profiting off the misfortune of others. And I think that was the point, that it's like, not only is this going on in our city, but the owner of this house is one of our city representatives, an elected official who nobody cares. Nobody in the city seems to care that we've got somebody that's being allowed to let people live like this.
Yeah. And ultimately, here's my thing on that. All we're trying to do is get people what they deserve. We're ultimately, we want exposure, because the truth is, people deserve to be able to live in a situation that is livable. If that makes sense. I mean,
well, and humanely.
Right. And that's not happening in certain places. And that's why exposure is needed, because it's not necessarily, I mean, it's maybe about that person there up the top, so to speak, but it's more about the person that's not being treated properly. Ultimately, that's the key. We're looking at the lesser of people and trying to help them.
Somebody has to be their voice. Because if not,
an advocate.
Yes.
And it's crazy that this has going on now, but it's not a new occurrence. Like, the more we've dug into it, like, this has been going on for years.
For a long time.
And I guess we could say we're even somewhat guilty of it. Until this started, I mean, we knew
We
it
wouldn't
was
have
there,
known.
but
We didn't.
we had no reason to go that way or anything else. So it's like you really don't, but you don't know kind of deal.
So it was easy
or
for the
self
city.
ignorance. I don't
Right.
really know how you would explain
And it's
it.
been easy for the city to keep it quiet, too.
But here's my thing. Once you know, you know.
Right.
And once you know and you don't do something,
That's where the problem
that's
lies.
when you have a problem. You're right. It is a matter of we're busy, we're ignorant, we don't know. Or, no, we're not ignorant, but we're just not sure what's going on. But when you do know, then you have to be an advocate for
Right.
somebody. I feel like. I mean, I can't justifiably be in my home, comfortable, taking care of my family, doing what I do. Yes, I'm going to do that, but then also knowing that there's a lot of people and that's the way it is in all life. I understand that, and all cities are like that. But if I am aware of something that's an injustice in the city I live in, the sphere of influence I live in, then I want to at least do my job, my due diligence to do something about it.
And that's funny you mentioned that. That's Jared and I have mentioned so many times because you've kind of been on this journey with me, so you know how hard this has been, how difficult of a road that this has been down. And it's like, man, I wish so bad that some days, like, I wish that we could go back into our little ignorant hole and just live blissfully, unaware. But it's like you said, and Jared says, well, we know now, like, there's no way we could go back because you see the wrong that's being done on so many levels. And so that kind of leads us to, like, Susanna helped with that. She brought them food. She's taken them clothes. And then the next thing was when we started going at the end of September, they started talking about Strain Road and seeing the conditions that they were having to live in over there. I mean, you know, the city ponied up $500,000 for an animal shelter, and that's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah, of course.
But they immediately did that. When that funding went out as of 30 September, the city jumped right in and said, we're going to fix this. Right. It's going to be a Band-Aid until we can put in now, fast forward, they have a plan for this new animal shelter. So that at least they've put a plan, and within 6 months, they're on working a place to put a permanent place.
Well, I think you need to tell a little history of Strain Road instead of just like going into it. You know what I mean?
Well, I was
like,
going to.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My bad.
No, go ahead
Oh,
into
my
your.
goodness.
Go ahead into yours.
Oh, okay. Well, Strain Road, for those of you that don't know, is a traditionally black neighborhood that Interstate 65 split. So it's on two sides of 65, one of which is closer to Lindsay Lane and the other is closer to 31. And apparently they've had these issues since at least the 60s or 70s.
They said like 50 years at
And
least.
then, of course, when you put the interstate straight through it, they had to build the interstate up, which created even more problems with the water running down. So they have flooding issues on top of everything else. So, I mean, this is the 21st century, but we have to look at the history of what was going on and everything else. So you have to say it's maybe tinged with a little racism, considering who they are and they're poor, and that the fact that today still nothing is done. So just wanted to remind you guys that aren't from around here that's
and that they,
you know.
when was that? Like, was it in like the late 90s or early 2000s where they changed everything over from like a septic tank to city sewer? I only know that because when we had to have stuff fixed at our house, the plumber was explaining to us how when everything moved over to like the city sewer. And so I know that in some counties and in some areas, like some houses may have like septic tanks or whatever, but the way that Athens operates is you're on like a city sewer system. And where we live, that was updated sometime when the old homeowners were there before we bought it. So I think it was like the early 2000s or something like that, where they came in and put everybody on the city sewer. And Mr. Mark Wilson, who was on a previous meeting or a previous episode, he was talking about how North Athens, how it kind of cuts off right above Elm Street, which is again more traditionally poor black community out that way, but they are also not on the city sewer. So that's kind of where that line draws on Strain Road. But the irony with that is Strain Road connects off prime real estate off Highway 31 and close to 65 in Lindsay Lane, which those are more richer areas, communities. And you've got brand new neighborhoods. I mean, $500,000 homes being built. You know, they're going to be on the city sewer and having proper sewage.
For sure.
And in the September, we kind of got to understand a little bit of how bad it is over there, that they've got sewage in their yard, backing up in their bathtubs. They can't even flush their toilet if it rains. It's a very sad situation, unfortunate situation that anybody in the 21st century.
Well, and I can make it even more personal because with my job, working for home health, I have recently gotten some patients over there on Strain Road, and have had them share that personally with me. And at that point, I began to say, well, you know, I'm going to go on y'all's behalf to City Council, and I want to advocate for you because I feel like, you know, particularly these people I'm talking to, I'm not as a whole talking about the Strain, everybody lives on Strain Road, but the ones I'm talking to are more homebound, considering I'm seeing them for home health, and they are experiencing these problems that you're talking about. They're sharing these things firsthand, that they're having these problems in their home, and I'm standing in their home watching. I'm not literally seeing it right then, but I am witnessing this from them in their home. And so at that point, that's when I knew, okay, I can be an advocate for them.
Because they can't go to city council
They can't
meetings.
go to city council
They may not even
meetings.
have access to an email to
Correct.
even reach out and ask questions.
They're 89 years old or
Right.
know how to do an email.
Right.
You know? I mean, they're just not. So this was an opportunity for me to go and to speak on their behalf and to question what's going on. You know, here we are all these years, and of course I didn't know the history of how long this has been going on. To be honest with you, if I had quite understood that, and now I do know, it kind of gives you a little bit more of a passion to say, why is this going on for so long? What is taking so long?
And why is it that, like, in September, these people got up and they talked about their concerns and the conditions that they were living in, and all the mayor could say is, well, we'll reach out and we'll see if we can get grant money.
Or we'll get another meeting to talk about it. What is that doing?
It's almost like just to kick the can because, and you've probably seen this in the meetings you went to city council, people will come to one meeting, and when they don't get the answer they want, they think that they're defeated. And you see with, like, our journey, heck, we've been going for 6 months straight, and we've made a lot of progress. We've had, public comments turned off. We've had letters, prepared letters read. We've made a lot of progress as far as how they handle business, but as far as an impact on making a difference as far as the spending or helping people, you really have to stay on them. I mean,
but you have to say that basically Mayor Marks is saying, well, we're going to try, but basically if we don't get this grant from the state, we're not going to do anything.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And we think that is a totally wrong thing. Kind of like leadership steps up. Hey, City of Athens, we haven't done right. We haven't done right by these people. We're going to do it. We're going to start it. And if we get this grant, that's great. But if not, we're going to make it right some way, somehow.
It's kind of like our city councilman who's allowing these people to live in these homes. It's like if somebody else isn't going to step up, like, why is our city allowed to have people live like this? I mean, that's why one of the people have retained an attorney, and they've taken it to, like, federal court, trying to be like, this needs to be fixed. And even the mayor's response was very arrogant and being like that he wasn't concerned, that they weren't doing anything wrong, that they were trying the best they could. But yet we have millions of dollars to give abatements to, millions of dollars to match for grants for a splash pad. And like I've said, I fully support the growth with the
That's
with the
what I was about to
playground.
say, though. I love all those nice, cushy things, but the problem is, and I'm all for that, but when you have a situation where someone's health is literally at stake here, and I can speak from that for 22 years in home health. You have a situation like that, you are dealing with someone's health ultimately.
No one should have to have
There's
sewage
no
in their
justification for that
coming up in their sinks and in their bathtubs. That's just, people should not be having to live like that.
We're not even saying that you shouldn't spend your money on this. We're saying, though, if you have an issue here of someone that's potentially their health's at risk, that's where your focus should be first, and then when the money is allotted for there, do that.
If you're you're willing to pay millions for upgrades to the city, which we agree with,
Yeah.
then you should be willing to pay millions to fix people's sewer.
Correct.
That's your responsibility. I mean, the way that I see it, if I have an issue on my sewer at my house, it's the city's issue. It's not my issue.
Correct.
And that's how those people should be treated as
Right.
well.
Well,
And-
not only that, but with the whole grant situation, something that came around here more recently is to upgrade a local park. They're like, "Oh, we can get this matching grant, but it's up to $1 million." So
And it
they
has
could
to be
put-
matched.
But so $1 million for $1 million, so we can do that. But are you telling me there's no other grants for like low income
Something,
areas
yeah.
on
Well,
the national level?
and
Something
they're not
And
willing
it's-
to
They're
give-
just waiting on the state. That's
Right.
That's all
what
they
I was
say.
going to say is it's ADEM. They're
Yeah.
waiting and they're not, they haven't said, hey, we're willing to pony up something. We'll start. The only thing that they've said, and I'd have to go back and look, and I wanted to have this before today. I'll have to go look at it and see if I can find it. But I think they're doing like, the city's paying like $70,000 to do some kind of like a engineering proposal of what it would cost. And then from there, but they shouldn't have waited for people to ask questions. This should
Yeah.
have already been done.
Yeah.
And to me, this
yeah.
is the
Years ago
way
even.
the way that I see it. It's like they're kicking the can again, like, because they said that it's going to take 6 months to do this engineering evaluation.
Well, the engineering evaluation was about the flooding, though. It had nothing
Yeah.
to do with the sewer.
Right.
And then somebody got up there and said, well, that's all great and all, but this water's still got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So you guys are putting the cart before the horse.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
So as I was preparing for this episode with Susanna, and I was looking at from November 4th, I was looking at some of the stuff, and we had a resident get up, and he was saying, he made a comment that said, he applauded them. Let's see. Sorry, that Mr. Marshall asked Jimmy Junkin at the Water Services Director why Hazen and Sawyer Consulting added an additional amount for their project and stated that those types of fees should have been included in the original contract. So at this particular city council meeting, there was probably about a dozen amounts and charges that were approved by the city on behalf of like the water department. And I was asking Jared and Susanna, like, don't y'all think that this sewage stuff should be part of the water department? Mm-hmm. And so you've got, I'll just kind of go over these real quick. So you've got $17,000 to be funded from the Water Services Department, operating budget for the USGS to maintain and monitor Swan Creek stream gauging station for 12 months. $49,000 for the purchase of a Kubota model tractor, $6,700 for the purchase of a Bushmaster rotary cutter, $5,600 for the purchase of a Land Pride plate. This cutter is for Huntsville tractor and equipment. $57,000 for a 2025 F-250. An unbudgeted amount of $46,760 to be funded from the Water Services Capital Reserve for Hazen and Sawyer Consulting, Inc. That was to perform construction inspection services during the construction of, so they had gotten approved for a certain amount, won this bid, and then they came back now and needed to increase it $47,000.
Oh my
And that's
goodness.
an unbudgeted expense. That was what Scott Marshall was like, that should have been part of the original bid. They shouldn't be able to pull this. And how do they have, there's like $50,000 from capital reserves in the water services account. That was a large amount to me. And then there was authorized to purchase a set of 3 Vulcan screen models, FT36, and the ancillary wash presses model at a cost of $985,000.
Whoa.
And that one isn't even listed where that pot of money came from. So nearly $1 million, and it's not listed what pot of money. And then,
oh my.
I know, and then another unbudgeted amount of $105,000 to be funded from the Water Services Department cash reserves to Krebs Engineering to perform high rate filter study to come up with a 30-year water treatment plan. So we
Wow.
have.
Well, I
and
think the
that's-
funny thing is that there was no real dollar amount, how much it's going to cost
Right,
in the
we-
meeting that we were at. And then mysteriously, there's this newsletter that goes out to a few select people that said 17 million. So
Well, this
we
is-
would want to know, where did this number come from? You
Yeah.
didn't have it, and then now you have it? It's
So
like, it's
just to
crazy.
clarify with you, he's saying 17 million is the estimated amount for Strain Road upgrade. So I'm just listing amounts that were unbudgeted at the city council meeting. But the 17 million to kind of, let me finish this and then we'll go talk about 17 million. I'm going to try to make this super quick. So this was the largest one. There was another unbudgeted capital amount of $8,800,000 to be funded from the Water Services Department capital reserved for a contract with Cleary Construction to construct the WWTP East Primary Lift Station. And that was an unbudgeted amount. Unbudgeted. Mm-mm. And it's coming out of the Water Services Department capital reserves. Like,
that's crazy.
Almost $9 million. There was another $1.9 million to be unbudgeted amount for a contract for Appel Machinery and Supply to construct the Elm Street Water Booster Station upgrades. And then another nearly $300,000 unbudgeted amount, again, out of the cash reserves for a contract with Vortex Services to pipe burst certain sanitary sewer lines for rehabilitation purposes. So I added that amount. There was $11,162,584 that was spent on unbudgeted things.
Whoa.
And so what Jared had mentioned was in some report that Holly Holman, which is the communications director for the mayor, she put out that on some like Cafe Athens, it's something we've tried to get access to it. We'll keep trying. But after this particular meeting in September about Strain Road, she put on there that it was an estimated $17 million. And it was originally supposed to be like $4 million. So we're like, where did you get $4 million? And then 17. How did you come up with 17? But then 3 city council meetings later, the Water Services has unbudgeted amount of money of nearly $11 million that they spend on various water things across the city.
See, that there needs to be accountability there.
I know.
There needs to be answers.
And like Jared has mentioned, and we've mentioned this in nearly every single episode that we've done on these city council agendas, these are literally the meeting minutes. So this is a sum of what happened. So on the agenda, the day of the meeting, number one, you have no idea what these amounts are for. Mm-hmm. And on the city council agenda meeting, it's got on here, resolution to approve contract with Cleary Construction to construct the WWTP East Primary Lift Station. It just says, that's all it says. But in the meeting minutes, it's like $8.8 million. Mm-hmm. Like that $8.8 million should have been in the agenda so that we knew. And then if people look at those agendas, right, or if people look at these agendas beforehand and they're like, I want to go to this meeting because why are we spending $8.8 million but we can't help Strain Road?
Exactly. So. That's the bottom line right there.
That was the point of all of that, listing all of that. So sorry guys, I went over a little bit, but I appreciate.
But it's good to hear those numbers though, because people don't know.
They don't have a clue. And so yeah.
Okay.
So we've got city council meeting coming up next week. So hopefully this will kind of give you some more push to keep supporting them, and we appreciate all that you do, and we hope to have you on again here soon.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
Yeah. So thanks guys, and until next time.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Limestone Lowdown, where we break down the issues, keep you informed, and give you facts straight from the source. Remember, your voice matters, your vote counts, and your community thrives when we stay engaged. Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay involved. Until next time, keep questioning, keep advocating, and keep shaping the future of the Limestone area. We'll see you on the next Limestone Lowdown.